most #1 overall picks, he's going to a team that's pretty good. They've got good players. Ingram is probably going to lead them in scoring. Lonzo Ball looked like he's already got a chemistry going on with Zion. You got Derek Favors. You've got J.J. Redick. You've got even the other rookie, Nico Melli, is a longtime vet from the EuroLeague. So he's coming in a situation where he doesn't have to be a savior. He doesn't have to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. And that makes the game easier for him. I watched that game the other night against Atlanta, and all he had to do was just run the floor. The lanes are right there. And even when he doesn't get the ball, there's so much attention towards what Zion is doing on the floor. It opens up the game for everybody else.
You know, it's funny. You mentioned how balanced their roster is, and it's a really competitive West. You didn't even mention Drew Holiday yet. Yeah. I mean, that's the other part of the equation.
I think you hit it on the head. He's not coming in expecting to save, a situation, carry a franchise on his back like LeBron did with Cleveland, situations like that. He's going to be able to come in and develop. And, the New Orleans market isn't as big as some of these other bigger markets. So I think it's going to be a good situation, but it's going to be fun. And the media always going to set the bar high, and everything he does, well, he could have did this or he could have did that. That's just the world we live in today. But I think he's in a great place. He has a great frame of mind, and like Amin said, a great surrounding cast that's really going to help him develop.
He's the #1 overall pick, but he plays with the energy of someone on a two-way deal.
Right.
Like it's so rare to get someone who's that talented, who's been the best player on the floor probably for his entire life, but to play with that kind of diving for loose balls, kind of
football player.
Yeah, it's so refreshing.
It's funny you mentioned that, Amin, because Matt and I talked about this yesterday with Chiney, which is that at Summer League, he didn't want to do anything as an individual. He wanted to do everything with the team, everything as far as interviews, anything he had to do by himself. He's like, no, can I bring a teammate with me? He wants to be part of a group in this situation.
I think with his talent alone, like we mentioned yesterday, he's going to get anywhere from 14 to 18 points off his energy and his pace of play.
Right.
Because of the style of the NBA. So he's in a good situation, good group of guys that's going to give him time to develop. But, obviously the media always...
The media!
Yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to have expectations. It's why, look, I appreciate David Griffin right off the top trying to temper the expectations, but we all know there's going to be a set of expectations. I mean, Drew Brees was literally telling him, you're next. Right. That's part of the deal now, at least as far as that city's concerned. All right, before the break, we told you to check out the piece from our own Tim Bontemps on how the Celtics are trying to take a little of the Kobe out of Jason Tatum's game after their infamous workout prior to last season. Matt, do you agree with the premise?
Who's trying to take it out of what? What's going on here? I think his up and down season last year was more with the nature of the team and the environment of the team, with the Kyrie situation and Gordon Hayward coming back. I think that's where you saw a little, possible, a digression in his game. But to take Kobe out of, you don't take, if someone has Kobe in him, you definitely don't want to take it out of him. Tatum's a smart player. He's going to be able to use his team. But the skill work that Kobe, helps all these players with. You see everyone's coming to LA now for these private Mamba workouts. And I really love the fact that he's passing his blessing on to some of these guys. But like I said, I think last year's Tatum situation was less the Kobe-isms and more of just the uncertainty of the team.
So let me ask you this, Amin. Do you think that, to Matt's point, it was more about just, look, Kyrie was handling the ball, and guys were like, well, I got to get mine because he's getting his, right? And do you think it was more of that, or do you buy into the Kobe thing?
Well, I think, first of all, I'd say that, look, Kobe Bryant is one of the greatest students of the game we've ever had.
Yes.
I've watched film of him breaking down, I got that from Oscar Robertson.
Right.
And they do the split screen of him doing a move that he saw Oscar Robertson do exactly that.
Yeah. And by the way, you could catch Kobe Detail on ESPN Plus. It's only $4.99 a month.
There you go. Well, nice plug. So there's definitely value to his analysis of the game as a player, how to add things to your game. The big issue, I think, is for Tatum, and also it hurt Kobe too. Sometimes you're doing things that ain't the easiest way to get the job done. The dribble, step back, fade away over two dudes from 18 feet. Nice shot when it goes in, but it doesn't have a track record of going in a lot. Not to say that you never need that. Sometimes you need someone who can make that kind of shot.
Right.
We saw Kawhi Leonard do it a bunch.
Particularly in the playoffs.
Last year. But the idea is there are a lot of easy buckets to be had on the floor, straightforward buckets. And that's one of the things I like about Kawhi Leonard is he doesn't mess around with the ball a whole lot. And I think for Tatum, he went from having a very quick, efficient game his first year to second year, trying to live up to, well, Kobe does this. That's all right. You do it every once in a while. You do it when the situation calls for it. It's not something you do primarily. So what I would say is it's not taking the Kobe out of the game. It's just let's balance the diet a little bit.
Matt, I guess to Amin's point, is it more that he should just take what the defense is giving him?
It's picking and choosing your spots.
Yeah.
And that's what Kobe learned over the years, just picking and losing spots. I remember a quick story. We were on a flight one time, and he was over there drawing a bunch of different courts on the thing and figuring out where we were going to be open in the triangle. You know what I mean? Like, that's how sick he is with the game. So it's just learning. Jason Tatum's, what, his third year, fourth year? It's just learning when, time, and place. But to me, if you got Kobe in, you can't take it out of you.
All right, let's move on. Last year's #1 overall pick, DeAndre Ayton, scored 18 points, grabbed 13 boards, and blocked 2 shots in 21 minutes of action against the T-Wolves last night. Amin, what are your expectations for Ayton in year 2?
Well, I mean, the big thing for him is obviously the game slows down a little bit. You know, when you're a rookie, the game is so fast. And first of all, even when you're a guy like him with great athleticism and great size, it's a shock to see, oh no, they got a bunch of dudes like that in this league. So the second year is really when the game starts to slow down for him. For me, the 2 things I'm looking at is A, he's got to become better defensively. Last year, he would fall asleep. And as a big man, he's got to be the anchor for a team defense, particularly a team defense that isn't very good when you look at some of the other guys on the roster. And then the other thing is, I thought in college he's a really good passer. I want to see a little bit more of that. I think when you got a big man who can pass as well as I think he can, it opens up things. You look at how Philly plays, you look at how Denver plays with a big man who can pass, it really makes the game easier for everybody else.
He's someone that could do a lot, obviously, going into his second year. But I think one thing that's really going to help him take a step is Ricky Rubio being able to set his pick and pops and his lob plays. But like Amin said, more self-aware on defense. He should be the anchor. He's athletic enough and strong enough to hold that whole anchor, that whole defense down, and then be just a more versatile player. You know what I mean? Someone that can do a little bit of everything. But like people forget that this is just his second year, and even though it means that the game slows down, it still takes more time for it to slow down. So he's in the second year with a lot of expectations.
Matt, and my guess is Rubio will help Booker too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have a true passing point guard out there that likes to set other people up and is going to take a lot of pressure off Book. And I love Devin Booker. To me, he's one of the purest scorers in the game. So I really think this is also going to help him as well.
Yeah, they've got to figure out also those younger guys, that they got to listen to these vets, even though they're not stars, right? Rubio, Aaron Baines is another guy. I want Ayton to really listen to Aaron Baines and figure out those things. Not just because he isn't a star player in this league doesn't mean there aren't lessons to be
learned.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
you got to learn the nuances of the game, and a guy like that can do that.
Because that's the difference between putting up numbers and winning games. Like, they're good enough to put up numbers, Booker and Ayton, but now they need to be good enough to help this team win games.
Yeah, for sure. All right, coming up next, we get our first look at CP3. Check out Bo and Pablo in a couple minutes, but it's crunch time here on The Jump. The Sun forced a Game 5 with their 90-86 win last night. League MVP Alea DeLadon was a -18 for the Mystics in 30 minutes. She's playing with a herniated disc in her back. So, how should the Mystics handle in a winner-take-all situation in Game 5?
I don't know how to answer this question without angering a lot of people, but you might need to see the doctor, get a little shot, and give it a try. Unless there's any, risk of future damage, you got to give it all right now.
Matt?
Tough. We just saw Katie try to give it all. You know what I mean? So this is a tricky situation. Obviously, it's the finals, it's the biggest stage, but her long-term health is more important in my eyes. But I can understand how people would want her to really tough it out, take a shot, whatever the situation may be.
All right, let's move on. We finally got to see Michael Porter Jr. on an NBA court. It's been 19 months since we last saw him even play in a competitive basketball game, going back to his college days. Matt, were you impressed by what you saw last night?
I like Michael Porter, and hopefully he can have a string of time of just being healthy, but very skilled, very talented. It doesn't look like there's very many holes in the offensive game, and he's very athletic.
Yeah, he gives them something that they didn't really have as far as someone at that size who could put the ball on the floor, could obviously shoot the living daylights out of it, and also athletic and finish in the paint. I want to see him early in the game, though. I don't know why Coach Malone held him for the second half.
Yeah, it was interesting, but he did get kind of eased into the game that way, so I guess that was his logic. And he did make a bucket right out of the gate. I do think long-term, and Matt, we talked about this recently, I think he could be the difference for them to be a real championship contender.
Definitely an X factor.
Yeah, let's move on. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had a game-high 24 points in his first game with the Thunder. Shai seemed poised for a breakout season in year 2. So, Does he look like a future All-Star in the making?
You don't want to put too many expectations on a kid so early, but man, he's so smooth, man. I loved him with the Clippers last year. I thought one of the reasons I think Oklahoma City is actually not bad this year, I don't know if they're a playoff team, but they're not going to be bad because this kid is really good, and they got some good players there.
If you hear Doc talk last year on record several times, he was the one player he really didn't want to give away.
Yeah.
You know, Shea could really play. There's definitely a bright future, and I'm sure Oklahoma City is very happy with the fact that, you know, although eventually Chris Paul is probably going to move on, they still have Shea.
He shot 37% from three last season. Only 1.5 a game is what he attempted, but he was nailing them from downtown yesterday. He was having fun doing that.
He's at his own pace. That's what I love about him.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, we also got a first look at Chris Paul with the Thunder. He had 6 points, 4 assists, and 5 turnovers in just 17 minutes. The Thunder looked solid against the Mavs, who were resting their top players last night. So, Matt, are the Thunder good enough to keep CP3 happy?
One thing about Chris is whether he's happy or not, he's still going to play hard and he's not going to make a big deal about it. They're just a young team and he's towards the end of his career. So although he's going to have fun running around with these boys and helping them and teaching them and playing well himself, I'm sure ultimately he'll want to move on. But like I said, regardless, he'll be what he's supposed to be out there on the court.
Yeah, I mean, if he was like 3 years younger, maybe there's a little bit more patience. But like Matt said, this is a guy coming up towards the end of his career. You don't want to spend it basically helping a young team grow. And like I said, I think this team's actually good. The problem is they play in the Western Conference, and there's so many teams that are better, more prepared, more mature than they are. But as long as he's there, he's not only going to play and play well and make them play well, but think about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the guy we just talked about right now. How much more he can learn about the game from a guy like Chris Paul.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. Yeah, they're about like a 35 to 38 win team in the West.
I think they're more.
Really?
The West is tough.
I know it's
tough. You gotta. It's hard to get wins. You know, not everybody's gonna get those wins
unless they wave white flags and start sitting guys and doing that stuff.
Play hard.
Yeah, they play their guys.
But they're also talking about trading Steven Adams. You know, so that's going to be for assets and young pieces. So like I said, it's a good situation for those other guys to learn in. But I think long term, you know, the best obviously move for is.
Yeah, and here's the thing: if they were in the East, I mean, they'd be a playoff team. Is that fair to say?
I think so.
Yeah, so I think there's that. But the Chris Paul thing is fascinating because he's also the president of the Players Association. So he has no choice in this matter other than to play hard and kind of see this thing through, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, look, Matt said it best.
Yeah.
It's
whether
that's
he's
nice.
the president or not, that's just who Chris is. You know, Chris is gonna, when he's healthy, he's gonna leave it out there on the floor.
No, I agree with that. Yeah,
There's no way he could like say, I'm gonna go half speed or save anything.
And I think he has a lot to prove. You know what I mean? I think people wrote him off last season when, you know, year 2 with Harden didn't work, but Chris still has a lot of game, and I think he's eager to show that stuff.
Yeah, I think the president thing just adds to it. It's not certainly the intent.
right thing.
All right, thanks for watching us. Amin will be hosting tomorrow, 3 o'clock on ESPN.